A man passionately chasing a better way of life for his family gave birth to one of the greatest success stories in the outdoor industry. 4 decades later, a talented team of people in central Wisconsin come together each day to provide the best archery accessories and customer experience in the world. This is the First 40.
So 39 years in business, coming up on 40 next year. I mean, you guys have been here pretty much since the beginning.
Right. Well, Dad started bringing me out to Antler Archers in the original location back in the mid to late 60s.
Yep.
And he developed a huge interest in archery. And then after we moved to Minnesota in the 70s, that's when he originally really wanted to put a product out into the industry.
Right.
And that was the hydraulic camp punch release.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It was a release that had a lot of ingenuity to it, but it didn't get him where he wanted to go.
Yeah.
So then, after we moved back to Wisconsin in the late 70s, he still had that dream to get into the archery industry with a product. Dabbled with a few things, and then ultimately in '84, that's when HHA really got its legs and started with a fold down stabilizer. The very first prototypes for that were made at Mid-State Tech when I was a second-year machine tool student. I was a straight A student for 3 semesters. My instructor gave me a B+ because I was too busy making archery products for the old man. But I wouldn't trade that for the world. Look, 39 years later, we're sitting on top of the single pin slider industry, and it's been a great ride.
And Chris, I mean, you've really been here since day one. Yeah, I've told that story hundreds of times. I was born in '75, and then we moved back here in '78. So I mean, some of my first memories are with a suction cup bow and arrow in my hands. I mean, I've known archery. I've known archery all my life. It's all I've ever known. And I remember shooting at the Griffith Nursery out by Sportsman's Bar. You know, shooting in the dirt piles there. My little white bare bow.
Yep.
When I was 5 or 6 years old. So
yeah.
And then '84. Yeah, I mean, I was the kid with the squeaky voice answering the phone. Like, who the heck is this joker answering the phone, you know?
Right.
Because it was just Mom and Dad and I, and Brian was off at college at the time, I think.
Yeah.
Getting ready to head off, so.
Those first 10 years for Dad, from '84 to, I came back to work for him in '91. He needed to get parts made on site with our own machining setup. That was my background. And at that time, he was making caliper releases, buying all of the components from outside supplier, and the cost was just prohibitive to be competitive. So we set that up, and that's what really got the train moving for Dad, was getting into caliper releases, and then us machining them on our own beginning in '91.
Yeah.
And then '94, '95, we started dabbling in fixed pin sights.
Saunders T-dots.
Yep, T-dots. Yeah.
Brass pins and
pins.
Dipped crosshairs.
Crosshairs. Oh man, the line of products that we came with that got us the next step.
And where did the cardboard targets fall into the mix?
Those were probably, I would work summers coming back from college, and then weekends and stuff, and one of my jobs was to head over to the old Quonset hut with a pickup truck, and it'd run all day long. You could only get X number of boxes of targets in a pickup truck.
Right.
And we weren't well off enough at the time to buy a trailer. I mean, we struggled, but everything that we did was the next step that got us closer to a solid launch in '94-5 with the optimizer. There was 10 years of incremental small victories,
yeah,
if you want to word it that way. And then we came out with the optimizer mid-90s, and it went.
Ultimately, that kind of led us to where we're at today.
Right.
Really. I think one thing that's cool for me, you know, talking to both of you and your mom and your sister, is just kind of looking at like how your roles have evolved over the last 40 years. You know,
oh, for sure.
You know, for so many years, it sounds like everyone was so hands-on, and not that you're not today.
Right.
But it's just in a different capacity.
Well, back then, I mean, Mom was she was the order processor. Dad was the everything. He was the businessman. He was the design engineer. He was the human resource. I mean, Dad wore every hat. He always used to say, "Put a broom up my backside and I'll sweep while I'm doing my other stuff." That's the way the old man was. There was no job that was too good for him.
Right.
And he passed that on to the rest of us.
I'm sure that over the years there's been some good or funny stories that you could probably tell. If you could pick one from the past 40 years, what would that be?
I'll never forget. Dad said, "Well, once you get the shop running, you're going to help me design archery products." And I'm like, "Dad, I'm a machinist. I can design tooling to make the stuff, but I can't design archery products."
Right.
He goes, "I will teach you how to design archery products." And I said, "Dad, you can't teach somebody creativity.
Right.
It's like being able to sing or play a guitar. That's just something that's going to have to be a gift that comes from birth." He goes, "No, I will teach you to be creative." And he was right.
I think the one that sticks out to me the most, and anybody that's ever toured our place, I mean, we have literally hundreds, if not thousands, of cookie sheets that we store all of our parts in process on. It's an organized way to keep them stacked, weigh a ton, And going back, it probably was the early 90s, 91, well, right around the time Brian came back, we were making caliper releases. And it was the summer of rework with Mark and I. Mark Andraska and I were best friends in high school, and Mark still works with us to this day. But we had a heck of a time getting 100% success out of building caliper releases before Dad developed the zero gap feature. And so we would put 100 releases together, and we'd have 50 good ones. And then there'd be 25 on this sheet that needed to be reamed out to this spec to make these work. And it was just, the mantra that summer was, if it weren't for rework, there would be no work at all. And it was literally the case. We were just putting the same stuff, time to make the donuts. Felt like Bill Murray on Groundhog Day. We just kept making releases over and over again until Dad finally dreamed up the idea for this eccentric pin that had a cam in it where you could basically fine tune the gap in the jaws. So then our rework went from 50% down to about 1%. Like, just thinking about the amount of rework, something your dad, instilled in you two, and then really all of us, is backing your product with a 100% lifetime warranty and the promise to the customer that we're always going to make sure we take care of you. And obviously, we don't see a lot of stuff come back for warranty today, but it's just awesome to see that was started at such an early point in the company history. And it's carried on through.
Oh, absolutely. From day one, if it's not 100% right, it's 100% wrong.
Right.
It goes out the door 100% right.
Yep.
And that's quality's number one.
Dude, he's a stud. Let's go.
There's been a lot of great people that have built the HHA story. It's not just the family, the blood family. We consider all of our employees, family. I'm like, good. You've been with us for what, 1.5 years now?
Yep.
I mean, you're like our little bro. I mean, you're what you brought to the table, and help the second, third, fourth, fifth chapter of HHA Sports keep advancing. It's a pleasure to be involved with a company that's got so many good people that really, really, truly respect and appreciate working with each other. It's just an environment that I can't imagine exists in a lot of places.
A lot of people make great products. A lot of people have great promotion, but the people at the back end of it, if you don't have that, you don't have anything. And I think that's something that you go to any of our 2 locations. I think that's really evident when you talk to the guys in the shop, or you talk to the people in assembly, or you talk to our customer service team in the office. I mean, everyone truly cares about the end product that the consumer is getting, whether that's the physical product or that's the service that they're getting when they get the product in the package.
Exactly. I always say, you go to the store, you open up a package, you pop that HHA product out on the counter. That's the tangible portion of what you just purchased.
Right.
But all of that wonderful workmanship, attitude, creativity, just a longing to please that all of our team possesses in both locations.
Yeah.
That's also in that package. The customer just can't see it.
There's only 2 hams sitting here, but there's a a lot of hams throughout the country and throughout the world that have bought into the HHA name over the years, and it's gratifying to see that and look back on it 40 years later.